helped me to continue to excel and learn and be integrated into society. But at the same time, it was very difficult because wherever I went, whether it was in a public place or school, I always got teased. People looking at me, people pointing their finger at me, laughing, calling me all sorts of names. And I'd come home and I'd cry and I'd say, Mom and Dad, I don't want to go to school anymore. They say, why? Well, because they all laugh at me. Oh, well, don't worry, Nick, it's okay. Don't worry. My parents were religious, so they said, God loves you. I'm thinking, man, that doesn't help me to say, God loves me. Where is this God? I didn't understand. And I looked at my life and I'm thinking, what kind of job am I going to get? And all these questions started bringing more negativity in my life. And I didn't know what my hope would ever be. So if this book represents my full potential, and I start my journey from over here, encouragement brings me closer to all that I can be. Discouragement takes me away. The same common word between encouragement and discouragement is courage. People look at me and say, wow, Nick, how did you get so much courage? Well, let me show you an example of courage. I'm going to jump off this table and do a backflip and land on the floor, okay?
Oh my gosh!
Are you ready?
Oh my god!
Girls, are you ready? Boys, are you ready? Sparta! Ready? 1, 2, 3. I'm kidding. If I did that, I'll break my arm or something, alright? I have no arms or legs, but I have a head, alright? Now for me, encouragement and discouragement, it's a constant war. And my parents always said, Nick, you're beautiful just the way that you are. We love you. Nick, don't worry about what other people say. They constantly planted seeds of love and hope. And I want to tell you parents of teenagers, you know when you tell your daughter, oh, you're beautiful. And maybe she says, of course you're going to tell me I'm beautiful. I'm your daughter. And some teenagers, they put up a do not disturb sign on their door, right? They don't want to talk to you. Your conversation's like, so how was school? Boring. What'd you learn? Nothing. Did you do your homework? No. And that's your conversation. But when your teenagers put a do not disturb sign when you're trying to encourage them, respect the sign on the door. And go around the corner and stick your head through their window and say, you're beautiful! Because if you don't plant those seeds of truth and love, then who will? Because of the influence of media, because of our human nature, we continue to compare each other to everyone else. Oh, I wish I had that job. Oh, I wish I had that car. Oh, I wish I had this. Oh, I wish I had that. And we're looking for what? We're looking for happiness. You know, before I talk about thriving, I want to talk about surviving. Because I nearly didn't survive. Why? Because seeds of lies were being planted in my mind and in my heart, and I didn't take care of it. I didn't get rid of that. I let it grow and overtake me. You know what is worse than having no arms and legs? Fear. F-E-A-R. False evidence appearing real. But when you have faith, F-A-I-T-H, full assurance in the heart of what? The truth. The truth, first of all, of your value. So many men, when maybe something's going wrong in our job and we can not supply and provide for our families maybe like we used to, you feel like you're less of a man. I want you to know that my wife, more than an excellent provider, needs an excellent, loving husband. You don't need to just hold her hand, you need to hold her heart. You know, it's not always about money and providing and giving your son the best education. I have a boy, and people ask me, what do I want him to be? And I say, I want for him to be happy. I don't need him to be a CEO. I don't need him to be a speaker. I don't need him to be anyone but him and do what he is supposed to do. I want you to know that my son, more than an excellent college, needs an excellent father. And if it wasn't for the love of my parents who gave me those seeds of love, I would not be here today. Why? Because I started going into depression at age 8. It only takes 3 seconds for someone to bring you down with words. And if you let it grow, it will overtake you. Nick, you're not good enough. Nick, just give up. Nick, you're alone. Nick, you will not get a job. Nick, you'll never get married. Nick, you're not going to be a good father. You can't even pick up your kids when they're crying. Just give up. There is no heaven and there is no hope. Just give up. Just give up. Just give up. Just give up. At age 8, I told my mom that I wanted to commit suicide. At age 10, I tried to drown myself in 15 centimeters of water. I only needed that much. That wasn't supposed to be. I see the funny side of trying to commit suicide in 15 centimeters of water. You guys are good. The first 2 times I tried to roll over. I was trying to work out how much air I hold in my lungs before I let it out. The 3rd time I rolled over, I was stopped by one thought. And the thought was seeing my mum and my dad and my brother crying at my grave. You see, I loved my parents, and one of the reasons why I wanted to give up was because I felt like I was a burden to them. But then I realized that there was something worse than having a liveless child. It was a liveless child who committed suicide. So I decided to stay. Now, could I see my hope? If my hope is represented by that book, if I'm facing this way, I can't see it. Did it move? No. Was Nick going to be a speaker? Yes. An author? Yes. An actor? Yes. A CEO? Yes. A double graduate of accounting and financial planning? Yes. A president and founder of a non-profit organization that's given $500,000 away? Yes. Was Nick going to have this wonderful, bountiful life of joy and peace and strength? Yes. Did I know that? No. Could I see that? No. But just because you can't see it now doesn't mean it's not there. You must have faith to believe in something you do not see yet. You must understand your worth and your value is not determined on your bank account or your achievements. Because at my funeral, they're not going to talk about my success. They're going to talk about who Nick was, not what he did. It's who you are that matters most. And if you don't know the first principle of your value, then you don't know who you are and what you're here to do. You can have arms and legs, but not know what to do with them. I today stand before you complete and lacking nothing. Why? Because I have chosen to believe that there is something more to my life. And everyone is entitled to whatever you want to believe in. But the greatest thing of all is knowing that there is not one human being who is more valuable than another. I've met presidents, I've met billionaires, I've met orphans, and I've met sex slaves that are human trafficked and sold by their parents at age 10. There is not one human being that is more valuable than one other. And I want you to know that you're beautiful just the way that you are. You know, I go in front of elementary school students, and I know there's some teenagers here, and I know some people with gray hair who wish they were teenagers still. But I'll tell you right now, if you're a teenager, you know, you look yourself in the mirror, and you know, even 40, 50-year-old people, they look themselves in the mirror and say, "Ah, look at me," you know. They were a teenager and say, "Ah, look at my pimples," and now they're 50 and say, "Ah, look at my wrinkles." You know, like they're never happy with what they have. And you know, "Oh, I wish I had this, I wish I was taller, I wish I was shorter, I wish I was more popular, I wish I was more smarter, I wish I was more rich, I wish. What's the point of wishing something that's not there? There is no productivity in that. But I ask these elementary school students, I say, "I have a question, guys." And they're like, "Really?" And I said, I said, do you think that I'm cool enough to be your friend? And they're like, "Oh, yeah." And I'm like, "Really?" And they said, And I said, "But I have no arms and I have no legs." "That's okay." I said, "So you don't care?" "No." I said, "If it doesn't matter for how I look, then why do we tease each other for how we look if it actually doesn't matter? If it doesn't matter for how I look, then why are you so negative about how you look? Why do we stereotype people? Break that chain of life and give yourself a chance. Some of you girls are so insecure about your relationships. You have a boyfriend who emotionally controls you and abuses you, and you think you're not going to get anyone better. Well, if I dump him, then who's going to love me? I'm never going to get anyone better. Well, guess what? If you never give yourself a chance, you're right. You'll never get anyone better. But you deserve better. You deserve to be treated like royalty. My wife and I, we abstained, and I was a virgin until I met my wife. I was, and I'm proud of that. You know, when we look at ourselves, if we don't like ourselves and how we live, well then I need to live like someone else. You know, like you look at your friends and they all swear, and you're like, "Oh, it must be cool to swear, so now I'm gonna swear." "Oh, you want to get drunk?" "Yeah, man, I want to get drunk." You know, all these things, and you sort of conform to what everyone else is doing. They influence you more than you think. But now, because I saved my virginity for my wife, I can now look at my boy and tell him when he's of age that I waited for his mother. What a great example of true love. Anyone's going to love you when you make him feel needed and wanted. Or what about a bad day? What about when you go through depression? Are they really going to love you? That's true love. You see true colors when you go through true trials. For me, that's how I knew my wife was going to be my wife. I actually went through a depression just 2 years ago. I shared in my second